It's how people know me, how people know how I know myself. So to start, I have nieces and nephews, and they're awesome. They live like 5 minutes from here. I have 2 nieces and 2 nephews. And just to kind of kick off, I was thinking through all this, and I just thought of my niece. And when she was about 4 years old, she's like 8 now. She was I don't know what she was doing, something crazy. And we said, Carrie, you're such a drama queen. And this is a 4-year-old. And she goes, I am not a drama queen. I am Kira Abigail Bartlett. That's what she said back to us. And it was so matter of fact. She knew who she was. So her parents obviously did a great job of saying, this is your name, and probably this is where you live. And that was her identity. She's like, I know I'm not a drama queen because I'm Kira Abigail Bartlett, so how could I be both, right? And then my nephew, and I actually got up on my phone because I was going to try to tell you, but it's a lot cuter on the phone. So we're a small enough group, you'll be able to see it. But he was sitting on my lap, and I had my iPhone out because I was trying to film him while he wasn't looking because it was really cute, whatever he was doing. And all of a sudden, he saw himself in the picture. And this is what he said. Hopefully you guys can hear it. I think I have to turn it up. Alright, so this is a 2-year-old, and he says, that's me. He saw himself, right, in this picture, and he's like, that is me. And no one ever told him that, but he knows, right? So sometimes I wonder when we look in the mirror, what do we think? Do we think, that's me? Or who is that person looking back at me? So just to kind of a little bit of the background, if I asked you guys, and this is rhetorical, so don't say anything out loud unless you really want to. If I said, who are you? If I asked myself that question, who am I? Who am I? How would I respond to that? So maybe I would say, I'm Jennifer Marie Glenn. This is why I wore this shirt today, actually, because it's a funny story. We were getting these done this fall. It's our game day shirt. And on the line, on the order form, it said name. So I wrote Jenny Glenn, okay? So you'd think that it's to identify whose order form it is. Well, really, it was the name they were going to put on the back. So it says Jenny Glenn on the back. So most people would only get their last name put on the back of their shirt, but it says Jenny Glenn. So I thought I would wear this in honor of identity tonight. And I don't need a name tag, and you guys, if you forget my name, you could just look at my back. There's no mirror back here. There is over there. But, so I'm Jennifer Marie Glenn, right? I am a volleyball player. I'm a volleyball coach. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm an aunt. I'm insecure sometimes. I'm afraid of certain things. I'm fearful. I could go on and on. I'm a Christian. And what defines me? So all of these things kind of come at us all the time. And I don't know if I've even seen this whole movie, but the movie Identity Theft. Has anyone seen it? I don't think it's a very good movie, so I'm not going to suggest you go watch it. But this idea that our identity can be stolen from us, right? So we have all these things in our lives that can try to steal our identity. And so we have to figure out who we are, right? What's the core of our being? And so I just kind of want to set that stage and talk a little bit about my story. Hopefully I don't bore you with my story. So way back in 1980, most of these documents are fake because I couldn't find my birth certificate, so just go with it, okay? So way back in 1980, I was born. And the very first thing I got in this world was a birth certificate that has my name on it. Jennifer Marie Glenn, born to James Lamar Glenn and Florence Kathleen Glenn, okay? So right as I come into this world, somebody's telling me who I am. I'm Jennifer Marie Glenn. I'm, 8 pounds, 2 ounces, 21 inches long. Don't know if that's right either. But, so as soon as I came to this world, all of a sudden I was identified. I was born in Granby, this little small town up in the mountains. We didn't even have a hospital. I was born in the doctor's office. My mom always tells stories about how they were having a little office party. So between contractions, they'd come in and check on her, and then they'd go back to the party and come back and check on her. And she was so frustrated because she was going through labor while they were having an office party. So small little mountain town where I entered this world. So first thing in this world was telling me who I was. Okay, we'll speed up because otherwise we'll be here all night, right? So growing up, there are a lot of things that I think I identified myself with. My dad was a high school volleyball coach, So every chance I could be in the gym, I was there. After elementary school, I'd run up to the gym and I'd go play, and sometimes I did jump in drills with high schoolers as I got older, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So growing up, we went to church every Sunday. I kind of knew who God was, and I knew that I was supposed to do good things, and that was about the extent of it. So kind of who I was the kid that did good things, and the coach's daughter. So this is actually one of my favorite t-shirts of all time. It's now a t-shirt quote, so I had to make a picture of it. But it says, my dad's the coach, but I'm the boss. So this is what I wore when I was in elementary school, because I thought I was pretty cool, because I was the coach's daughter. So growing up, during this time I could remember thinking, I hope I make good decisions when I get older. Because as an elementary school kid, around high school kids all the time, I had a lot of them that I looked up to. So maybe some of you high school kids now, they're probably like elementary school kids that are looking to you and saying, I want to be like them. Okay? Maybe some of you middle schools look to our college athletes and say, I want to be like you. And I can remember looking up to these high school kids. I can still remember their names. Bonnie Haddock, I could list a bunch of them that I just thought were awesome. And I wanted to be like them. And being the coach's daughter, you also not only got to see all the cool things they did, but you got to see when they messed up. And so I can remember being in middle school and hearing about how these idols of mine, these role models, were out drinking and they got caught on the athletic agreement. Or they were lying, or they cheated in school, or all these things. So I knew about the things that went wrong in their lives, and I was devastated. I was like, oh my goodness. I still remember in grade school thinking, I wonder what decisions I'll make as I grow up. And I thought, you know, as an 8-year-old, I know I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to smoke cigarettes or do drugs or any of these things. But I didn't know what kind of decisions I would make as a teenager, and that always kind of scared me. So anyway, that was kind of the beginning phases of my life. So we speed up a little bit more, and we get into high school. And what do you get in high school? Anybody? What, identification? Driver's license. Who has a driver's license? A couple of you. You guys better. So in high school, you get this. This is the next thing telling you who you are, right? You're now kind of independent. This has my driver's license. It has my weight, it has my height, same thing on birth certificate. Right? But now all of a sudden, I'm still under my parents' control, but I have a little more autonomy. I can do what I want, right? If I want to go home at lunch break at school, if you have an open campus, I don't know, we did, I could go home at school. If I drive up to a stop sign, I get to choose, do I go right or do I go left? And I remember that just being an awesome, like, this is so cool. I have control over my life. And I think at high school was a turning point for me, and I got to that crossroads, and I said, who's going to drive my life? I can still remember in the cafeteria one day, my identity in high school is very much still, I'm a volleyball player, I'm an athlete, I'm the coach's daughter still, so I can't screw up because everybody's going to know, right? And be a good student, what's my future look like? Those are the things that I really held on to. Well, I can remember being in the cafeteria one day in high school, and all of a sudden, my friends started making decisions. These are friends that I had since I was probably in kindergarten. And they started making decisions that they thought would make them popular and what everybody else seemed to be doing around them. So I started to see my friends start to party more, start to do things to get the attention of boys more. I started to see them make these decisions, and I just was at this crossroads again. What am I going to be about? Remember when I said back in in grade school, I was like, I don't know what I'll do in that situation? Well, I think that questioning myself helped me in that moment. And I remember thinking there's more to life than this. There's more to life than this. I know there is. This can't be what all life is about. And so in that moment, I had a choice to go with them or to go in a different direction. And kind of talking about who's going to drive my life. So I decided I was going to go to FCA. Do you guys have FCA at your high schools? Fellowship of Christian Athletes is what it stands for. So the Charringtons, who Trish knows really well, started a huddle at my high school. And I decided, okay, I don't know what I want yet, but I know I don't want to go down this path because it doesn't feel right. So I'm going to go to FCA. So I started going to FCA. I started learning a little bit more about who Jesus was in Christ and how he could control my life, and maybe that he could be the driver of my life. And maybe I sit in the passenger seat and let him control. So I went to Young Life. Maybe some of you guys have Young Life. And I started just developing these relationships with my friends from those areas. And these were friends that maybe wanted me to see me reach my potential and do my best. So I kept my friends that were maybe making other decisions, but when it was weekends and nights and all those things, I started hanging out with my FCA group. And I think that was a turning point in my life, because that was the point where my faith became my own. That it wasn't my parents' foundation they set anymore, that if I should do good or not, but it was all of a sudden, it was my decision to say, what path, what's my future look like, and who's gonna drive my life. Some people think, kind of sidebar here, some people think that if I want God to drive my life, and I'm gonna sit in the passenger seat, then it's a bunch of rules, and it's really boring, because I have to just do everything right, and I can't have any fun. And I just want to say that's the furthest thing from the truth. That's a total lie, because if God's in control of your life, it is a wild ride. And you're going to do things you never thought you could do, and He's going to give you strength to do things that you didn't think you were capable of. So, anyway, that's a side note. How are we doing? Are you guys with me still? All right, we made it through high school. So, kind of faced that crossroads. And the other thing about that is I actually printed this picture, and I didn't know if I was going to use it, but I thought it was appropriate. So I knew we didn't have PowerPoint, so I went old school and printed pictures. This bottom picture is a picture of someone walking on a fence, right? And sooner or later, we can all walk on the fence, which means I don't know, I kind of maybe have my foot in on this side or my foot in on this side, and we can walk this fence, but sooner or later, we're going to go off on one side or the other. And I kind of made that decision of, I want to be the one making that decision. I don't want somebody else that doesn't maybe care enough about me to make that decision for me. So I think that's what happens when we face those crossroads. So anyway, graduated from high school, awesome. Next thing that kind of tried to steal my identity was this. It's an NLI. It's a National Letter of Intent. This is what you sign when you commit to a college. So now all of a sudden I was a college athlete. And when you graduate from high school and you go to college, what's the first thing everyone thinks? College.
Party.
Okay, party. What else?
New people.
New people.
Tall boys.
Tall boys. Yes. Anything else? Where are mom and dad? They're not there anymore, right? Yeah. So,
Fully independent.
Fully independent, absolutely. Yeah, because we kind of were, we got our driver's license, right? But you still went home every night, and they asked you when you were going to be home and all those things. But now we're all on our own. So when I went to college, it's like this clean slate. I went to school 12 hours away, and nobody knew me. I did not know a soul there. And so all of a sudden, I get to create my identity, right? We go to college, and now all of a sudden, no one knows my past. No one knows that I was the coach's daughter. No one knows that I was an athlete, any of those things. And so I think I kind of wish people would talk about this more maybe when I was young, and this is why I bring some of these things up. But when you get to college, you're going to have probably, if you're playing volleyball, 4 things that really draw and really try to steal your identity. One, you guys said first, right? The social scene, the party scene, making those decisions. The second is school, right? You can make this decision to put your nose in a book and be all about school, and maybe you want to go be a doctor and that's all you care about. Maybe the third is being an athlete, and you can just put all your energy into that. And the last, if it's important to you, is your faith. And being a Christian, would be the fourth one. So I go to college, nobody knows me, and I have to make decisions. What's my identity going to be wrapped up in? And I will say over my 4 years, it was probably all over the place at times. Sometimes volleyball was too important, but when I had my priorities straight, things went a lot easier. Kind of on that subject, I think sometimes we have convictions, right? And if we have faith and we're grounded in that, we have convictions. And if we know what we're going to do before we get in that situation, we're probably going to choose what we want to choose, right? So if I know what my boundaries are, if I know what my lines are ahead of time, when I get put in that peer pressure situation or something else like that, I'm more likely to do what I feel like is important to me. Does that make sense? That kind of didn't make sense in my head, but hopefully it made sense as I said it out loud. So during my college career, I had to kind of make a decision. Do I want to be an athlete that's a Christian, or do I want to be a Christian athlete? What do you guys think the difference is there?
I feel like the athlete will be probably before the Christianity, like first priority maybe.
Good. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? I think you're right on, yeah. So am I just gonna be an athlete that the Christian thing, my faith is kind of on the side? Or am I a Christian and I use my sport to bring honor, glory to God? Do I use my sport for a bigger purpose, or is it for my own gain? And when I was in a good place with that, and I was a Christian athlete, it didn't matter how many kills I had in a game. It didn't matter if we won or lost, because that didn't affect who I was. Sometimes if we put too much of who we are in our performance, so whether that's in volleyball or in school or anything else, those are things that can constantly change, right? I can't control if you can beat me at ninja. But if I put my identity in how good I was at ninja, then, and you beat me, I wouldn't feel very good about myself, right? So it's the same thing with volleyball, it's the same thing with school, it's the same thing with all those things. So that time in my life really challenged me for that. I'm gonna speed up a little bit. So I graduated from college. The next portion of my life was like the wilderness. It was like the desert. I had no idea what I was doing, not a clue. And so this is the time when God stripped me of everything. He said, you're not an athlete anymore, you're not a student anymore, and who are you? And it was a time where I really had to figure that out because I couldn't put my identity in those things. So I figured out, I had to ground myself and put my identity in God's grace instead of all the things that I could accomplish. Because at that time, I wasn't really accomplishing anything. So I coached club volleyball. I actually went to grad school and got my master's degree. And then I was the finalist for this job, and I didn't get it. So I went to Spain. I lived in Spain for 2 months and traveled. And the lesson that I think I learned there is you guys are really young, but if you have a chance to travel, travel. Because I think we all need to see how most of the world lives at some point in our lives. And when you see poverty or you see all these different things, I started to understand that what we see, what we walk through, what we experience doesn't define us, it affects us. Does that make sense? So it doesn't define us. If we have parents that are divorced and we've been abused, if we've made really bad decisions and we really regret it, those experiences affect us, but they don't define us. And if we have our identity in Christ and who Christ says we are, those things don't tear us down, basically. They don't destroy us. All right, last section of my life, college coaching. So at the end of all this, God just gave me this opportunity to be a college coach. I didn't work for it, which I probably shouldn't tell you that. You work hard, do your thing. I didn't, it fell in my lap. It's because of people I knew in situations, and God's like, okay, I had no idea what my calling was. I had no idea where I was headed. And he said, okay, I'm going to take volleyball, and I'm going to take your love to impact people and be a mentor, and I'm going to put it together, and I'm going to make you a college coach. And I stepped into this position. I've been coaching for 7 years now. And with being a college coach, the thing that tries to steal my identity is performance. Because at the end of the day, my job's dependent on how these guys play volleyball. Period. Is that scary or what? Right? 18 to 22-year-olds playing volleyball. If we lose too much, fired. No matter how good of a person I am, no matter how many I do things right. So if I get too caught up in that, and I make all my decisions, and maybe I break some rules, and so that we can get this recruit here and do these kind of things, if my identity is dependent on even my job, then I'm going to start to make those decisions. But I know that if we win, we praise God, and if we lose, we praise God. And I say that a lot to myself, that it doesn't matter if we win or lose, that He's put me in this position, and I need to do what He's called me to do in it. So with that same idea as being an athlete, I have a choice to be a coach who's a Christian or a Christian coach. So when I get to that crossroads, we talk about right and left a lot, I can either say, I'm going to treat my athletes as a means to an end so that I can climb up the ladder and get the next job and maybe go to a bigger school and those things, or I can view my athletes as someone that I can have impact in their lives and hopefully help them through tough times and those kind of things. So I want to give you guys like 3 themes that I kind of pulled out of all this, and then we'll kind of switch gears a little bit. But the first theme is that God is the only common thread to who I am. So I kind of talked you through all these things trying to steal my identity. And if we kind of go back a little bit, when I said that, that birth certificate back then, you guys remember that? God says in Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. So before I even got that before before I even got that birth certificate, God had already called me by name. He already knew who I was. And that time when I was the coach's daughter, right? My dad's a coach, but I'm the boss. And I was looking up to all those high school kids and looking to them. God said, or the psalmist says, look to the Lord in his strength. Seek his face always. He wants us to look to him, not to somebody else, for an example. And when I got this wonderful thing called a driver's license and I was trying to decide who was going to drive my life, he says in Deuteronomy, oh, that you would choose life. He wants us to choose life. And in college, when I had all these things pulling at me, whether that's the party scene or making these decisions or boys or all these things, he says in John 10:10, the thief comes to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. That he puts these boundaries on us because he wants us to experience life to full. And then when I was in that wilderness time that I didn't know what I was doing, he says in Proverbs, this is probably one of my favorite verses, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. I didn't know what I was doing. But he says, trust in him. Don't lean on my own understanding, because I don't get it. I don't know what tomorrow may hold. But he knows my path. And then finally in college coaching, in Colossians it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord and not for men. So if I worry about what everybody else is thinking, then my identity, my confidence, all those things are going to suffer. The second theme is life is a series of decisions. You can choose them or you can let others do it for you. And others don't probably care as much about you as you care, or you should care about yourself. Right? So we go through life and it may seem overwhelming, like I don't know what God's planning for my life. I don't know what path I'm going to go down. But really it's just a bunch of small decisions. And when we look at it like that, it's maybe not so overwhelming. Like tomorrow, when I know this person's going to come up and ask me to do this, what's my answer going to be? I already know that decision. I'm going to choose to make that decision. I'm not going to let somebody else. I'm not going to let Audrey make a decision for me. Okay? Even though I think she cares about me and she's a nice person, I know what God's called me to do, and I can look to his truth in the Bible, and that's what I'm going to make my decisions on. And then the last one is God provides if we trust in it. Every stage of my life, I can think of 2 or 3 Christian or solid friends that have been with me. They've been with me every point along the way. So sometimes we think, if I don't do that, I'm not going to have any friends. I'm be a loner, sit by myself at lunch, okay? But in reality, God will provide for you. If you seek that and you want that, there'll be people that maybe you don't even realize want to do the same things that you want to do, but they just don't know there's other people out there. So kind of to sum it up, who I am and my worth doesn't change through all this. God says that I'm God's masterpiece, I'm accepted, I'm worthy, I'm loved, I have hope. And these are all things that he says in the Bible, and we can hold true to that. So if I asked you again, you don't say this out loud, but if I asked you again, who are you, would you have anybody different in their head now, hopefully? Yes. Think about that, okay? Let me just share a couple things. Anybody have any comments, thoughts? That was a lot. I can talk a lot. Can't I, girls? Go. Okay. No thoughts? Can anybody, just raise your hand if like there's one part of that story you're like, I get it. Like that's me. It's okay, raise it if it's true. Own it. Yeah, so we're not all that different, right? We're more similar than we think we are. Okay, couple of things. What I've seen, what I've learned. This is as a coach, this is as an athlete. One is, and you're going to say, my mom says that all the time. Okay, I get it, but just go with it. Who you hang out with can make or break you. And this is why I brought this awesome little thing. It says best of friends. Okay, I was going through some of my old stuff. This is from high school. I know, it's old. This is from high school. And these are, do you guys still like exchange senior pictures?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Yes, no? Maybe you're on my side. Okay. Anyway, these are senior pictures. And this is just a few of them, but this was a little book I had. And these are my best of friends, right? And I was looking through this, and it struck me. I probably keep in touch with maybe 2 of these people in this whole book. And if you would have asked me in high school, I'd been like, best friends. We're gonna be like hanging out with each other, we were taking our kids to the park together. Like, I would have thought that these were my best of friends. And the ones that I still talk to are the ones that wanted the best for me. That they were encouraging me to go after my dreams, go after my goals. And those are the friends that matter. So what if I would have let the rest of these people influence my decisions, and then they're gone after a couple of years? So it just made me think about really paying attention to who we're with and who we hang out with. Quick story, I had an athlete a few years ago that we were just kind of walking through life together. She had gone through some hard stuff. We were meeting every once in a while. And she had another friend that literally when they were together, it's like the most black and white thing I've ever seen. When they were together, she was like Mean Girl. Who's seen Mean Girls? Okay, so we all know what I mean when I say Mean Girls. She was a mean girl when she was with this other friend. And she, to be honest, she would go to parties, she'd black out, she'd get so drunk she couldn't remember the next day. She made decisions that she couldn't take back. And when she wasn't with this friend, like her heart just blossomed. Like you could just see the potential in her. She was kind to people, she was really seeking her faith, all these things. It was like a black and white thing. And we all are accountable for our own decisions, right? You can't blame it on that other person, but it just showed me how important it is who we invest our time with. And I can be this person that my life is a disaster and a mess, or I can be this person who's like, how can I help that person next to me? How can I make an impact? How can I change the world? Okay, I'll speak up here. Everyone is doing it is a lie. It's a lie. Don't believe it. Everyone is not doing it. I don't care what it is. I said this already, but there are people out there that aren't doing it, so don't fall for that trap. Okay? Another thought is to get some kind of mentor. You have awesome people around you. These ladies here, Trish is one of the most unbelievable people that I know. And you guys are so fortunate that she's invested in your lives, and that's because she loves you. But there are people around you that care about you so much and that want to invest in your lives. And they can hold you accountable, they can give you advice and direction. You never have to go through any situation alone, ever, ever. Okay, you can call me, I don't care if you need someone to call. My name is Jenny. Okay, there's always someone to help you. Never walk through this thing alone. Okay, this is the coach coming out. Learn how to fail and be okay with it. Okay, this is going to go back to identity. If I am so worried, okay, I'm a passer, and I shank a ball, and then I shank 2, 3, 10. Okay, I shank 10 balls. Am I a failure? Why not? That's a failure, right? 10 balls. Why am I not a failure? Okay, I'll give you the answer. Okay, I failed, but I'm not a failure. Where's my identity? If my identity is in performance or what they're thinking or what my coach is thinking or anything else, then I'm a failure because I failed in a performance standard. Okay, but if my identity is in Christ, if the core of who I am, and all these other things, being an athlete, being a student, they affect us too. But if my core is in God's grace and who He says I am, then I can fail 10 times. I'm not a failure. I failed. Don't get me wrong. I didn't pass the ball at target. Okay? But if I don't have my identity wrapped up in my performance, then all of a sudden I can take failure and I can say, okay, I'm going to be a little more focused this time. I'm going to practice till I get better at it. And it helps elevate us to be a better volleyball player, to be a better student, to be whatever it is. And I say this with passion because I see it in our gym. I see it with our athletes, that they come in and then they take it and then our confidence goes like this, right? When we just shake 10 balls, our confidence goes like this. But it doesn't mean I'm a failure, it just means I failed. Okay, it doesn't change who I am, it doesn't change my talent, my ability, any of those things. If you can grab onto that with 2 hands, you are going to be an excellent volleyball player. I guarantee it. If you're willing to put the time in and effort in, you're going to be much better than the person sitting next to you. Okay? I mean, not in this group, because we're all going to do it, but you know what I mean, right? Your opponent. Okay. Build your foundation. What do you stand for? What are your limits? Okay, I talked about that already. Give your best self the best chance to succeed. If you said, what's the best version of myself? Because you're not the same as you, right? So don't compare yourself to her. What's your best version? What are you going to be? Okay? Love the game, play with passion. Love the game. It's an awesome game that you get to play, and I love the fact that you guys come here and do it and you don't have to. Like, it's not practice. Like, she's not taking attendance, right? You just come because you love it and you get to be around it and you get to honor the game by just enjoying it. Okay, last one. We're getting there. They're gonna laugh when I say this because this is something I'm passionate about too. Do hard things. Okay, big and small, right, girls? Do hard things. What that means is we have, this is a book, so if you want to read it sometime, I'll give it to you. But we are a society and we need to rebel against low expectations, right? So what I'm going to say on that is be somebody that isn't known for what they don't do, but is known for what they do do. So, what does that mean? That, what's your name? Michaela. Okay, so Michaela, she doesn't drink, she doesn't party, she doesn't show up late to practice, she doesn't lie, she doesn't cheat, she doesn't steal. That's awesome. Like, that's sweet. Okay, that is good. Okay, but what if when I said Michaela, she started a club at her high school for awareness of whatever. She comes every day to practice 20 minutes early and is just like passing against the wall. She went above and beyond in the classroom and helped her teacher who just went through a rough time and everybody brought him apples. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up in my head right now, okay? So be someone that's known for what you do. I mean, obviously we want to not do those things, but what can I do? What makes me not average? Who wants to be average? No? Excuse me. I know you don't want to be average. Okay, so we don't want to be average. So I just want to encourage you to do these things and just say you can. Maybe no one's ever told you you can't. You can be more than average. You can make those tough decisions. You can ask someone around you to mentor you or have coffee with you or those kind of things. So I just want to leave you guys with one little verse. It's in 1 John 3:1. It says, "How great is the love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are." It didn't say that is what we could be, or if we do everything right, that's who we'll be. It says that is what we are, children of God. So that's all I have for now. Cheyenne's going to talk a little bit to you guys about her experience, and then I'll just give you brief, quick recruiting tips. Does that sound good? Awesome. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Does anyone need to stand up or anything? That should be attentive. So you stand up for a minute, you grab a thing of water or whatever, and then sit right back down.